Awesome. I'm super excited to be talking with this diverse panel today. And before we get started, I wanted to ask the audience, who here by show of hands considers themselves a Bitcoiner? Yeah? All right. We got a lot of Bitcoiners in the audience. So what the hell does that mean? I'm really excited because they're going to help me break it down. Can we start with everyone going down the line, introducing yourself very briefly? Tell us what you do in the Bitcoin ecosystem and what the hell you think the term Bitcoiner means to you. Sure. Diana, can you start us off?
Yeah, so I'm Diana Pires. I'm the SVP.
Ooh, I don't think they can hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Can everybody hear her? No, all right. She's going to have to speak up.
Okay. So again, Diana Pires, SVP of institutional sales at Crypto.com on the exchange side. So my contribution, I suppose, to the ecosystem is somewhat welcoming the institutions and somewhat also educating them and kind of leveraging a lot of the relationships from retail and institution and kind of marrying the two, as well as, you know, rolling out a very sticky ecosystem at Crypto.com with the newly launched exchange that is now a year old. And that's what I do.
Awesome. And what does the term Bitcoiner mean to you?
For me personally, Bitcoiner really just means new finance, right? It means re-educating and educating as well, you know, because some of us have been here 5-6 years and we're learning every single day, right? No one can ever assume that we know absolutely everything. So for me, Bitcoin just really means new money, new opportunities, and expansion, you know, where there otherwise wouldn't be.
So a Bitcoiner, a person who educates other people about new financial technology?
Absolutely, yeah, an educator above everything else.
Cool. Isaiah, how about you?
My name is Isaiah Jackson. I'm the author of...
Yeah, needs no introduction here, huh?
I'm the author of Bitcoin in Black America, co-host of The Gentlemen of Crypto, and the co-founder of the Black Bitcoin Billionaires with Lamar.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And a Bitcoiner, I would say who I think the biggest Bitcoiner is obviously Peter Schiff. He's got to be. He won't stop talking about it. He's like a scorned boyfriend. He won't stop talking about it. But what a Bitcoiner is freedom of thought, freedom of ideas, of expression, marketplace of ideas, and that freedom comes with money. And that's why Bitcoin is important. And a true Bitcoiner, you don't have to eat steak. You don't have to be on Twitter and and troll people. But a Bitcoiner to me is literally just freedom of thought, using Bitcoin as money for the future.
Awesome. Lamar?
Yeah, my name is Lamar Wilson. I am co-founder of Black Bitcoin Billionaires. I am I'm a software developer, finance guy, and I'm just, listen, I'm a Bitcoiner, and what does Bitcoin mean to me is freedom, period. Since the moment I saw the white paper, the only thing I ever saw was freedom. And I also saw that freedom can help people that look like me get out of this freaking rat race that we dealing with the financial system. So that's what Bitcoin is, and a Bitcoiner to me, I think Peter Schiff is probably the best Bitcoiner. I think Charlie Munger is number 2.
Oh yeah, got it.
You forgot about Charlie Munger. I think he's number 2 because they don't realize they're Bitcoiners yet, because everybody at some point will become a Bitcoiner. I'm telling you that right now. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. Charlie Munger, Peter Schiff, y'all Bitcoiners as well. So yeah, man, I'm glad to be here. It's awesome.
All right, so Bitcoiner means educator, Bitcoiner means free thinker, and also everybody is a dormant Bitcoiner on the inside. Nimrod, what do you think?
So hi everyone, I'm Nimrod. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Simplex. We're the largest payment processor for the crypto ecosystem, recently bought by a public company out of Canada. So now we can push way more payment methods to enable everyone to buy crypto. I'm in the ecosystem for about a decade. I think that for me it was very similar. Like I read it and it was, for me, I didn't really think about like freedom per se, but alternatives. You have alternative financial system, alternative governance system. So, you know, just a different way to think about freedom, not as, you know, as free beer, but as freedom of speech.
Okay, so if a Bitcoiner is a free thinker and an educator, then is there anything that someone can do that disqualifies them as a Bitcoiner? I mean, if we think about that definition, people like Vitalik Buterin or Justin Sun probably qualify. In your mind, do you think there's something that someone can do that disqualifies them as a Bitcoiner, or are they just a different kind of Bitcoiner?
Man, Bitcoin, listen, Justice Sun, Vitalik, they own Bitcoin too. Mm-hmm. That's the whole thing. Like, you got to understand that they own Bitcoin. They might go after other things, but why are they not a Bitcoin if they own Bitcoin? And Bitcoin basically tells you who other Bitcoiners are, because if you own Bitcoin, you hold Bitcoin, you're a Bitcoiner. Y'all can go play around in anything else you want to, but at the end of the day, I guarantee you probably 80% Bitcoin, 20% them baby coins. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you're a baby coin supporter, right? So I think Bitcoin, again, you do what you want with Bitcoin. I want everybody to understand that. It ain't laser eyes. It's not beating up people on Twitter. It's not educating people on Clubhouse. It's whatever you want to do, and that's the whole point of Bitcoin.
Okay.
Like whatever you are, whoever you are, if you're in Bitcoin, it's Bitcoin, straight up.
So it sounds like there are different Bitcoin subcultures, people who do different things even though they all own Bitcoin. Isaiah, I'm curious to hear from you. We all know, I guess, some of the stereotypes associated with Bitcoiners. Do you know of any other kind of subcultures that you would consider also Bitcoiner subcultures?
Yeah, so I would say one of the biggest subcultures is definitely in the black community. Bitcoiners, it should be a match made in heaven. But really around the world, because it's an open finance system. Small communities that can use Bitcoin to better themselves, absolutely. And that's who are the true Bitcoiners, the community people who are using it. We all agree here at this conference. I mean, shit, we all agree, but it's the people outside of here that are the true Bitcoiners to me, because that's what we should be talking to. If we're going to be mainstream, you're going to have to make it for everybody. So definitely.
You're bringing up a really good point in terms of how people from the outside, no corners, view the community. Diana, I'm really curious to hear from you, because you work with a lot of institutions, traditional finance people that maybe have different associations with Bitcoiner.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the associations they have with the culture and in terms of introducing them to the community?
You'd be surprised, in fact, how many institutions are actually quite welcoming of the idea of a crypto world. I think, it's even in our language, right? We have community managers, right? I think it's a non-discriminatory industry. You know, we welcome folks. We educate folks. I don't think we're sitting here and trying to pinpoint who shouldn't be part of the ecosystem. Anyone that is building, anyone that's interested, you could be a no-coiner and still hyper interested in Bitcoin and anything that underpins the markets, right? I mean, I deal with financial institutions. Even if on the other side of the argument you hate Bitcoin, that's still a stance on Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. So I think as an industry, none of us here are trying to label anyone as a non-Bitcoiner. I've been at events where you wouldn't even fill a quarter of this room, and now a couple of years later, here we are. I think everyone can be a Bitcoiner.
Awesome. I think that you guys are pointing on to something really interesting, how Bitcoin kind of plays into our identity and even our political views. And I'm curious to hear, Nimrod, from you in particular, when was it that you started to associate, you were working with Bitcoin, when did that impact the way that you saw yourself or started to see the world? Because we don't really call ourselves dollar owners or Venmo users. When did you start to see yourself as a Bitcoiner, and how did that impact your perspective?
I think it's even more difficult because I was always like the outsider, and now there's a Bitcoin community, so I don't feel like being part of a community because it's like not who I am. And I think it's true for many of the people, like in the beginning of Bitcoin, you were used to being like the cast out. And now like I'm supposed to be like part of the system, like what the fuck? So, and I think that's kind of the impact. So I find different ways to differentiate myself maybe. But I also think that, you know, I understand all that you're saying about communities, but I think that what matters is, you know, to infiltrate the institutes where all the corruption is and all the power is. I don't think it's going to come from the communities. I think you need to do it from the system. You should come from within the banks, within the government systems, and just like break shit up and make it, you know, show them the alternative of Bitcoin or the Bitcoin as a community.
Yeah.
Can I speak to that real quick? So the thing that I think is the labels suck. Like labels are always meant to separate us. And to be honest, Zay and myself have been in this game for so long that I remember Bitcoin conferences where there were only like 2 or 3 black people at them. Mm-hmm. Because people in their mind thought a Bitcoiner was something else. Yeah. It wasn't a black dude, it wasn't women, it wasn't other minorities. It was like, we're gonna market to these white dudes. Like it's real talk, right? And that's what people thought was a Bitcoiner. And the truth is that again, the technology itself is so freeing that all of us are freaking Bitcoiners. Like every last one of us are Bitcoiners because the technology is made to empower us and not for somebody to be in power over us. So I don't like the whole label of who's a Bitcoiner, this is a Bitcoiner. The truth is the technology itself allows all of us to participate. And that's really what's better, right? We all got to come together on this and stop talking about like separating up into these factions. Because Bitcoiners go at Bitcoiners, Cyber Hornets go at Cyber Hornets, and it's the craziest thing, man. Like real talk.
That's awesome. Isaiah, I'm really curious to hear from you because I know a media persona is a huge part of your business. How do you deal with whether people view you as having like Bitcoiner street cred or don't view you? How do you deal with the way that you live out your life as a Bitcoiner, despite the fact that everyone's going to have an opinion on what that should mean?
Well, at first, I don't give a shit what people think.
That helps.
Like at all. And for the most part, it came from before Bitcoin, but I think that kind of pushed it forward even more. And I don't think anybody having an argument or having a disagreement stops what I'm doing. I mean, because I've been proven right enough. At this point, I don't worry, but even before, when Bitcoin was scary in 2013 and everybody thought I was crazy, still pushed forward because the technology works. That's it. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Who gives a shit about price? It's about the technology and getting a scarce asset. So the way I deal with it is not giving a shit and just keep working. I mean, what else can you do?
It's always good advice.
People just not gonna like you, whatever, but just keep working.
Diana, I'm curious to hear from you kind of the same question that I'd asked Nimrod. How did you start to change your perspective or maybe the way that you approach certain things when you started to identify more and more as a Bitcoiner?
It was really from a perspective of change, right? It's really, say, you know, my mum having to pay £25 in London to make a bank transfer and really understanding that, in fact, if I set up a wallet for her, she can do that for insignificant amounts, right? So it was really through adoption. So like for me, managing institutional clients, it's also seeing that, in fact, you're also having a huge impact on institutions that we would otherwise not really have a look into, right? And so it's really adoption, it's use cases, it's whether it's helping my mum out with transfers for cheap, or it's, a fund that is, wanting to leverage their experience and really capture a lot of market movement that might not exist in the FX markets anymore or equities. So it was really through having an attitude of, again, educating people about the adoption and use cases and really showing them that, if you move your 20K into an app and let it yield, you can actually make more than if you left it at a bank over the year. Small things like that. And that is really across family, friends, retail traders, institutions. And again, I keep coming back to it, and I'm sorry for that, but it really is trying to educate as much as possible, but at the same time, myself learning through everyone's questions and folks like these guys and really understanding how it's impacting their communities that I otherwise wouldn't really understand.
So what I'm hearing from you is that it changed your mentality in terms of looking for new kinds of solutions and even wanting to think about how you can do things yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's really powerful. I'm curious, as a kind of last thing as we go down the line, does anyone here have advice? Maybe we'll start with you, Lamar. If someone is curious about Bitcoin or interested, but maybe doesn't see themselves in the typical kind of maybe the kind of communities that exist. Like there's a lot of libertarians, for example. There's a lot of people who are very interested in becoming millionaires. Maybe someone sees themselves much more modestly and is a little bit shy on Twitter. What recommendation would you have for them in terms of how they can grow their Bitcoiner identity and get involved with the community?
I think they just have to do it, right? I think the Black Bitcoin Billionaires, what we do on Clubhouse, we tend to try to just be welcoming because we know a lot of people come in from a lot of different places. So we're not going to let them get on stage and us kick them off because they don't understand something. Because we know most of the time, most people are ignorant. This space is extremely new. A lot of people don't have a lot of information. So the way they have to do it is just get involved. And I love meeting people out here that have listened to us on Clubhouse. Like, it's amazing. Like, they don't care about COVID because they just hug me all the time and I'm good. I'm hugging them back, they're kissing me. I got body fluids everywhere, you know what I'm saying? It's cool. But I love it because at the end of the day, what that does is it starts connecting each one of us as individuals. And once people are empowered and don't feel like they have to be dependent on someone else and they become more and more empowered, then I think that's what starts breaking down barriers. right? It's people that want to be in power over people that keeps us separated. It's like once we learn that we have the power within ourselves to own our own money, to be sovereign, to control what we're doing, then all of a sudden you see those barriers start to break. And so white guys are hugging me, white women are hugging me, black dudes are hugging me, black women are hugging me, right? It's like all the way down the line. This is what it is. I talked to a dude from Russia for about 20 minutes and almost missed this place, right? It's like that's what it is. And I think you just have to get out there, get involved, and understand the principles of what Bitcoin is about. And once you understand, I think everything is going to fall into place for you.
That's really inspiring. That's awesome. Before I turn it over to any of them, I wanted to see if anyone in the audience wanted to ask a question really quick. Does anyone in the audience have a question for the panelists?
You got a hug, bro.
All right, there you go.
Hey, you got a hug.
Very cool. Awesome. Right up here in the front. When did they get involved in Bitcoin? All right, let's turn that to Isaiah. When did you get involved in Bitcoin?
2013. Got in around October, and the price went to 1,000 really quick, and then just fell out the sky for 2 years. So it was a fun time. It was Silk Road time. Mt. Gox was going down. Everybody was scared. I had a wallet.dat file, if anybody remembers those. So good times, 2013.
All right, we can do maybe one or two more questions. Anyone? Go for it.
Yeah, no keys, no cheese. Literally, if you don't own your private keys, you don't own Bitcoin. Robinhood, some of these other apps, you're just using a Bitcoin IOU. So that's what no keys, no cheese is.
Awesome. Anyone else? I think I saw a hand over there. Go for it.
So the first one I did on the back of the envelopes.
Can you repeat the question? I don't know if anyone could hear it.
I'm sorry. The question?
Yeah, his question.
Oh, well, helping churches accept tithes and Bitcoin. Started doing that in 2015. Just put the QR code on the back of the envelope and on the back of the fans that they had, just as a start, as a tip jar. And then they could also put it on the screen if they have it in there, and on the website. So a few churches in Charlotte have already started that. I think there's others around as well.
Gotcha. Okay, I lied. I'll have a last call. Anyone else? One more question? Okay, because if not, I've got plenty. Go for it.
Man.
Can you repeat her question so everyone knows it?
So she asked, based on the Clubhouse following, how many people do we think we've brought into Bitcoin? It's been crazy because we gave over I think it was $5,000 worth of Bitcoin in the first month to brand new people.
Wow.
And that was $10 at a time. So that's 500 people in December.
And then how many followers?
And they were brand new. They didn't have any Bitcoin at all. So I think Clubhouse actually is helping us. Zay and I have been giving Bitcoin away forever. I think Clubhouse is like taking that to the next level and getting Bitcoin into the hands of more people. So yeah, man, this has been, I think Clubhouse is really doing, I don't know what the number is, but it's high.
Speaking of people and onboarding to the system, Nimrod, I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit. Do you think if you could guesstimate, how many people do you think that your company has helped onboard into the ecosystem maybe over the past year?
I'd say about 1 million, probably.
That's a good number.
See, I can't deal with that.
Sorry, didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Diana, what do you think when you're thinking about how the ecosystem has grown over the past year? I don't expect you to guesstimate total.
No, we can share totals. It's actually public. Crypto.com, the wider ecosystem has over 10 million users using any of the services, whether it's the app, the card, DeFi products, NFTs, and of course the exchange that I'm part of. So it's a significant number that keeps rolling out and growing month on month.
Wow, that's insane. So if we have a community with millions and millions of people, obviously there's going to be a lot of subgroups and different kinds of people all within it. Nimrod, is there anything that you think really changed your life and the way that you approach things since you started identifying yourself as a Bitcoiner?
No.
No? You were just always a badass, huh?
Pretty much. I don't feel like it changed me. I got into it because of what it is, because it's aligned very much with what I am. And I think it's true for many of the people here, right?
Yeah, okay, I can hear that. Isaiah, is there anything else that you wanted to leave the audience with that you've been thinking about lately?
The kids. Teaching a summer camp next month. Teach the kids. Learn from the kids. They get it. No kid under the age of 12 is living in a world without Bitcoin. And they're going to eat our lunch one day in this space. We're just setting the ground for them. So make sure you listen to the kids. Gamification is great. Myself and Naja Roberts, we both have summer camps. Hers is in Inglewood, California. Mine is in Charlotte, North Carolina. So teaching kids is what I want to leave people with, leaving here.
That really speaks back to what Diana was saying about a Bitcoiner essentially being an educator. I think that's really important. Diana, I actually don't even know. Do you have any kids?
No.
Me neither. So then we're going to ask Nimrod. Nimrod is a parent. Yeah, he's got a lot of kids. When you're thinking about teaching your kids about Bitcoin, you think about inheritance, you think about teaching them values. Do you have any advice for the audience in terms of how to approach being a Bitcoiner parent?
The easiest thing is just give them their allowance in Bitcoin.
Yeah, they get their allowance in Bitcoin?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, start there.
My 18-year-old is rather rich, I have to say. He's a hodler. He's getting his allowance in Bitcoin for like 7 years.
That's awesome. How did you start by teaching them how to use a wallet, or how did you onboard them in that way?
No, so it started by just like, counting and understanding like conversion between the currency and Bitcoin, and I kept it myself until he was old enough to handle his own keys. Not his keys.
No keys, no cheese. No.
I was trading like a badass.
That's awesome. I think that's really cool.
Nice.
Were there any other thoughts, Diana, that you wanted to leave the audience with in general about what it means to be a Bitcoiner to you?
Yeah, I think, like I said, yes, educator and just being part of a wider community. I think having worked in traditional finance and pivoting into crypto professionally as well as it being my hobby, I've very much learned how to work and whistle at the same time. I'm having a wonderful time. I love what I do. And so I think it's also important for folks to understand that, yes, you could be on the kind of sidelines and accumulating by yourself and being part of subcultures and all the rest of it, but there's also a breadth of kind of career opportunities out there. We're slowly removing the stigma of what it means to be a professional crypto trader, a professional crypto salesperson, account manager, marketing, whatever the case may be. It's a huge community and everybody's welcome.
Well, I feel like I've learned a lot actually today from all of you guys, so I'm very grateful for that. I hope everyone is having an amazing time at the conference. Remember, if you're posting about this, to use the hashtag Bitcoin2021, and I hope that all of you enjoy meeting so many other Bitcoiners here in Miami.